Our show, your show, Let's Talk Stocks. In studio with us this morning is Khamara Wright. Now she's a young entrepreneur and author. Of course, she's going to talk to us about a very exciting project that she now has being released into the market. Welcome to the show, Khamara.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so Khamara, Patois Project with Nina.
Yes.
That's your new book.
Yes.
Talk to us about it.
All right, so Patois Project with Nina is actually a brainchild from my pageantry experiences. So I was the reigning festival queen for the years 2019 to 2020, and that would be because of COVID. I reigned for 2 years. And while I was in the competition, I was asked, on this stage, you're asked an on-stage question, and I was asked if I believed Patois should be taught in schools.
Oh.
So in giving my riveting, crowd-rousing answer, I decided that I wanted to make my answer tangible. I didn't want to just give this glowing response and then not have anything to back it. So I began writing in COVID, and I decided that I wanted to start this story about a young girl who migrated and her experiences overseas and just the opportunity she had to enlighten her classmates about what Jamaica is like, the culture, the food, and potentially encourage persons to visit Jamaica as well.
That's a very interesting concept. Though we have such great culture and such excitement built around our very expressive language, most people tend to, be not so confident and boastful about what it is. What drives that in you?
Well, what I like about our dialect, and of course what many Jamaicans have too, is what we call, or what I like to call, Jamaican pride. So what I appreciate, and it's really what I have focused on in the book, is the cultural origins of the words that we use, and fostering that pride, that that opportunity to say that, okay, this word actually comes from the Akan language, it comes from the Ashanti tribe, and allowing children who read the book to recognize those roots and basically foster their appreciation for brand Jamaica.
I hear where you're going with this. So you're in this book, you're saying you're not only showing that we speak Patois,
Right.
which we proudly do,
Right.
but you're also enlightening the word
Right.
as to why we speak the way we speak,
Right.
and the origins of it.
Right, exactly.
So you've been following Miss Lou.
Persons have said that I'm like a mini Miss Lou, and I'm like, well, those are very big shoes to fill.
But those were her exact words.
Understood.
She says, when you talk about English, they said it is derived from Latin and French. And
exactly,
so.
right.
So well, if English derive,
Right.
Patois derive.
That is true, yeah. So I have to sit down and understand it and proud of it. Yeah.
So give me an example of some of the derived words.
Okay, sure.
Which language they've been derived from.
So the beauty of this book too is that there are activities in here. So there's a puzzle, there are words that are derived from Patois. You can write the English versions as well. And of course there are comprehension questions. So it's not just a storybook, you can answer the questions and things like that. So let me go to the portion now that speaks to the words. All right, so for example, Dukunu. Dukunu we have as blue draws.
Yes.
So the variation of this word is Dukana. It's actually from Africa. In Jamaica, it describes the popular dessert known as taya leaf or Dukunu that we are aware of. And it's found in other areas of the Caribbean as well, but in Africa, it's called Dukana. So that's where that derived from. When somebody says something kaba kaba, have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
Like, this not do good, it just look kaba kaba. Why that looks so kaba kaba? So kaba kaba is from the Iwe language, and it's a Niger-Congo language, and it's spoken in Togo and southeastern Ghana. And kaba kaba means unreliable in that region. So of course you can see the correlation in how we use it as well. So in Patois it describes when something is done sloppily, or if a person is sloppily dressed, something like that. So it's not complete, it's not reliable. So the example I gave in the book is, my house now paint good, it just paint kaba kaba. So there are different words that you can recognize the origin and the correlation to our language as well. So how it's used in Africa and how it's used in Jamaica.
Very
So,
interesting.
yes.
And I like, as I said, the language, Jamaicans, they're very expressive.
Right.
The language itself is very colorful.
Right.
And really should be, shown to the world.
Right. Definitely.
The funny thing is, when foreigners come to Jamaica, they want to hear us speak
That is true.
in our native tongue.
Right.
How have you found that in relation to, people and the book?
Well, what I've recognized is, especially when I was overseas, I think that's what drove the idea to really write. Because when I was overseas, persons would hear me speaking, they want to hear me speak, but they don't understand. And I remember I had a friend, every time I spoke, she was like, "What are you saying? What are you saying?" And I'm like, okay, even when I think I'm speaking, standard English, she's like, "I still don't understand." But what I appreciate with the book and some of the feedback I've been getting, especially from parents overseas, is that they want something that their children can tie back to their roots, because they're Jamaican, of course, but the child may have grown up in America and they don't have that connection. They maybe they're not visiting the island as much. So they like the opportunity of having something that they can grow up with, they can read, they can learn from, so that it fosters that tie for the child as well. So it has been a lot of positive reviews from parents especially.
And you spoke to parents overseas, which suggests the book is available both locally
Yes.
and internationally.
Yes, so it's currently available on Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble. So you can go there to purchase. Currently, I'm working on having it available in bookstores locally. Until then, it can be delivered to you via Knutsford Express as well.
Oh, great. So I know you said coming out of the pageant experience, you thought this was the thing, you went into COVID. What did you always have that innate passion in you for writing?
Well, I'd say no. I think when I was in university, I was a part of the newspaper for the school.
Okay.
At the time, I didn't really see it as something I'd pursue. I just found it fun. And I know I like to read too. So when the opportunity came to write this book, I realized, oh wow, I actually like this. I journal a lot as well, so it goes hand in hand. So I like to express myself on paper. I'm a creative at heart, so I do paint as well, I do draw. So I can sit here and draw you, if I have enough hours to actually complete it. So I'm a creative soul, which is why too I'm in the culinary industry. I like anything that allows me to be expressive.
Very interesting. I want to go back to the pageant though.
Yes.
Because we out here in the public, we see these events from time to time, and we say, well, yeah, that's the Miss Jamaica, and then, yeah, they're just pretty, and so on. And then we see the festival queens and so on.
Right.
What's the difference between the two, if you had,
Right. So I was a part of both. I was a part of Miss Jamaica World, and I was a part of Miss Jamaica Festival Queen as well. The difference I'd say is Miss Jamaica Festival Queen is more centered around being the cultural ambassador and the youth representative for the country, whereas Miss Jamaica World is more centered around the international market. So you'd win the crown here, and then you'd compete against other countries in the world to gain that crown. So that would be the major difference, but with Festival Queen, it's more centered around visiting different parishes, being the cultural ambassador, liaising with different ministers. What can you do to ensure that the cultural aspect of Jamaica is preserved, or how can you as a youth representative tie in culture and the youth as well to encourage them to want to participate in that and preserve.
So we've been speaking to Khamara Wright, young creative entrepreneur, very exciting to speak to about her passions and following her dream. Of course, we'll have a second part of this interview. We couldn't have done it in 15 minutes. There's so much to talk about. But as we always say here on Let's Talk Stocks, we give you information to make better financial decisions. Catch us with part 2, which will be very exciting and enthralling from the young creative.